Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Habas Prado, and I'm sitting here. I wanted to talk to you guys about my series that I'm doing on uh, surviving sexual abuse. Now that we have a lot of stuff going on in the news cycle about pedophiles and pedophilia and powerful men, uh, taking advantage of children. But I just wanted to let the public know and tell my story where it just doesn't happen to women. It also happens to men, but also for men where the statistics are for men, and it's kind of a little bit mind blowing. Like the war of masculinity, the silence that men have about being sexually abused. A lot of my story came from my childhood. I was used to be a ward of the state. I grew up in different counties in New York State. Lived in several group homes. I also lived in several institutions. Um, I was sexually abused from the age of 5 years old till the age of 14, 15. So it's been quite a journey for me. This is really tough to be reliving with some of the darkest parts of my life. So I just ask you guys to be respectful for others and other survivors that are out there. And pray for a lot of people that are going through this, because the news cycle right now, what's going on, I feel like it's exposing the pedophilia that's going on in our country with powerful people, but also it's not really looking out for a lot of the victims and the survivors like us, like myself. So, and not only that, it happened to women, it does happen to little boys too, and little boys grow up to be men, and a lot of us men wait to tell our stories later in age, about 45, 50. So I feel like if we aren't talking about this as men that have been sexually abused, and putting our stories out like a lot of the women put their stories out, then we're not going to get into solving this problem of pedophilia and sexual abuse for children. I feel like us men need to step up that have been abused. And also, what happens when you talk about this stuff, you take some power back. I feel like every time I talk about this, I feel like I'm getting some of my power back. I've been in, like I said, this has been a lot of work, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of work to come from being a ward of the state, starting at 9 years old. I got into care at 9 years old. And before I even got into care, I was already sexually abused. And then when I get into care, where you think that you're supposed to be in a safe place and you're trusting people, you get abused even more. And then every time you move around somewhere, being abused, and dealing with pedophiles, because you're so vulnerable being a ward of the state, you have no place of belonging. So these people would target you everywhere and kind of know who you kind of know, like, who you are, as far as like the vulnerability factor that goes. And we're going to talk more about that so parents could be aware on what their children are doing. Excuse me for 1 second. Um, just had to go off camera for a second. Uh, Parents could be aware about what I'm hoping I can help people talk about their abuse, release some of this anxiety. And look, when they say that we have a life sentence with this, it's very true. It's a life sentence. Uh, we have to find ways to cope and to survive through this. Just recently, last week, I was asked by a friend. There's a case of sexual abuse happening at an old facility I was in, and they asked me, was I abused in this facility, which I was, but and they wanted me to talk to some lawyers, and because this facility is being brought up on charges and being held accountable, which I was happy to hear. But at the same time, the statute for the sexual abuse was too late, so I wouldn't be awarded anything, but I would have to relive the whole story from what happened to me in this facility. Um, and this place is called Little Flower Children's Services. It's in Long Island, Wading River. And I was there in 1986, 87, and 88, where a lot of the sexual abuse happened to me. But we're going to get into that later on. And if you have any questions about my story, I'll be able to talk to you guys more about it. I just wanted to hit some facts here for you guys. Okay, so statistics on male sexual abuse. Okay, 1 in 6 men in the United States has been sexually abused or assaulted in their lifetime. Um, Based on the CDC and national health data. Okay, among male survivors, fewer than 25% ever disclose their abuse. Okay, many wait 20 plus years to talk about it, if ever. Only about 10% of adults, sexual assault survivors, only about 10% of adult sexual assault survivors who seek help are male. Boys are the most vulnerable between 9 and 12. Okay? Up to 60% of male survivors were abused by someone they knew or trusted, family, clergy, or teachers or coaches alike. Okay? Um, a lot of the reasons, of course, a lot of the abuse happened at right at their. I start. My abuse started at 7, and it went on to about 14 years old till I was big enough to take care of myself and fight my way through through life and get into a gang and uh, be protected by my fellow brothers and not worry about predators coming around me because then at this point I was already a violent being, and I already had about 3 or 4 felonies, so it was really tough for me to be. Um, I can call out and see pedophiles from a mile away. So I learned to wear a skin where I had to protect myself and protect the people, the guys around me. So, okay, moving on. Why men stay silent in the war of masculinity, right? A lot of us stay silent because of shame and guilt. Men often feel they should have stopped it or that makes them okay. Men often feel that we should have stopped it or that makes them less of a man, or that it makes them less of a man. Survivors internalize blame that isn't theirs, right? Uh, a lot of it also is fear of not being believed. Society often assumes sexual abuse is only for women, and it's only a women issue. When men speak up, they're questioned or dismissed. Toxic masculinity, machoism. We're told men don't cry. You should have liked it. Only weak men get abused. These lies become cages. Fear of being seen as gay or unmanly. Abuse by another man can confuse the survival of sexual identity, especially in cultures where masculinity is rigid and unforgiving. Number 5, lack of resources for men. Many support groups, shelters, and therapy services are centered on women, leaving men feeling isolated. So, this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to make this video for a lot of us men, for the men that are out there, the young men that are out there, um, that are possibly could be dealing with being sexually abused. I'm telling you right now, there's ways to get out of this darkness and continue on with your life, and you don't have to be held in that. Through the blood of Christ and everything that we are, He is powerful, man. I'm telling you, he gets us through this. I'm gonna move on here, right, with some more statistics and information for you guys. How men heal from sexual abuse: breaking through the silence, speaking out. Even just one trusted person is often the first and most powerful step. It breaks shame and hold. Therapy with trauma informed specialists, EMDR, talk therapy, and support group support work well when tailored for male survivors. Faith-based faith-based healing. Scripture, prayer, and spiritual counseling can bring you comfort and a sense of divine justice and restoration. The Lord is close. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed by spirit. Psalms 34:18. Physical movement and embodiment. Martial arts, fitness, yoga, and even dance can help reconnect with your bodies in a safe way. Peer support and brotherhood. Safe spaces like my podcast where men can hear from me and can radically shift the healing path. This is a men's Me Too movement right now. Okay. So I want those guys, anyone, any men, and any support system that's out there for victims of sexual abuse, please hashtag men's Me Too or Me Too for men or just hashtag Me Too. And that would help the page blow up a little bit and get people to listen to this video and see that you can get, that you're not the only one out there, that we're here pulling for each other, that there's help, and we can lean on each other for more guidance through this stuff, especially seeing what we're seeing right now in the atmosphere. um to every man listening, if you ever been abused, assaulted, touched, or violated in any way, you're not weak. You're not broken. You're not alone. The world tells us men don't cry, that we're supposed to be strong, but strength is telling the truth. This podcast is for every little boy inside of you who never got to speak. For the grown man who wakes up every day with the memories he never asked for. We are all done suffering in silence. Sexual abuse doesn't just happen to women, it happens to little boys, teenagers, grown men, and it's time that the world knows that. Okay? So, all right. The title for this, right, is Boys Get Hurt Too, Breaking the Silence of Male Survivors. Okay? Today's episode, you know, uh, today's episode is one that I've been waiting to do for a long time because it's personal. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, and I'm speaking today for the boys who never got to say anything. For the men who carries wounds so deep they feel invisible. Statistically, 1 in 6 men are sexually abused in their lifetime, but only a fraction ever speak out about it. Why? Because we're taught to be strong, taught that crying is weakness, taught that abuse is something that only happens to women. Let's make this clear. Sexual abuse does not care about gender. Little boys are hurt, grown men are silenced. And today, we broke that silence. I know how heavy it is to carry what was done to you. I know what it's like to question the masculinity or identity, your worth. But I also know this healing is possible. You're not alone, and you're not to blame. We're going to talk about how men survive, how they heal, how we can create space for others to do the same. Most of us never ever say anything, but I've been very vocal about my abuse. I got lucky that I got into church at 14, 15, real solid. And I was able to lean on some trustworthy people and start telling my story. And once I started telling my story at the age of 15, I wasn't, I was trying to get my power back. But if I knew these type of statistics, I think I would have spoke out a lot sooner. So uh, we can, get a movement of men that been abused out here, and can get help for them, because I've lost a lot of friends to drug use and drunkenness, and yeah, and it was never a good, I to suicide, but I also been addicted to drugs because of these dark emotions that I kept inside, that kept replaying, that I was trying to numb the pain from my childhood at times, and I also felt like I wanted to just uh uh leave this place. I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to not be here, But I was, I felt like, there God has me here for a reason, and it wasn't my time. So here I am. Hopefully, I can help some survivors not get into that dark place, right? Um, we're told to man up, but maybe we just need to speak up. Okay, my story. Okay, so for years I buried what happened. I blamed myself. I thought real men didn't let this happen. Healing came when I realized it didn't let it happen. It was done to me, and it was still here. So I think I had an episode where I was at a after party at one of my friends, and I had a couple of drinks, and I was triggered by something he said to me, and I kind of leaped over the table and I started, like, you know, assaulting him, because he brought up some type of joke about sexual abuse, and some type of sexual abuse joke about me as a child. And what he didn't know is that it was true that it happened, and but my whole reaction was just anger, and it triggered me to go after him. And thank God our friends were there to break it up. And but I think at that point in time where I'm like, whoa, if I'm I was 20 something years old, and I was still sensitive to what was going on. And I felt like, wow, so this is still affecting me. Even till today, it still affects me, but I have to find a way when those things come up to cope and to reach out for help on those occasions, right? When those things happen. Faith, and this comes to my next thing is God, Christ in my life. And I'm so thankful for having Christ in my life, and having my Christ family to be able to lean on when I need to lean on them. He heals the brokenhearted and binds the wounds. Psalms 147:3. Uh, God has always, you know, been the pillar and the glue to mend my heart together for this. So I'm telling you, if you're going through strugglings, if you struggle every day with this, prayer works. Um, uh, Hitting the gospel and the Bible really works.